Okay, so 5 years ago today, I was working a 9-to-5 job in marketing in Toronto. I was making around a $50,000 salary, and I was posting on social media 9-to-5 vlog content. I think I had around 10,000 followers across everything. I was making maybe around $300, $400 a month from content. And so now, 5 years later, I am a full-time content creator. I have hundreds of thousands of followers across everything on social media. I've had over 250 brand deals across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, this podcast. I've had 6-figure months with social media and content, which is so wild to me and something I didn't even think was possible. I have built truly my dream business and brand through Busy Blooming with tens of thousands of the best people that listen to this podcast every single week. And I've truly just built my dream business, brand, and my dream through social media and content over the last 5 years. And over the last 5 years, there are so many endless things that I have made such big mistakes on, so many mistakes, so many lessons, just so many things that would have saved me so many tears, so much money, honestly wasted years on doing stupid things on social media and content with business. And so today I have broken all of my 5 years of mistakes and tears and mental breakdowns and lessons into 5 big mistakes and lessons that I wish I honestly would go back and pay $1 million to have known 5 years ago. And so if you are somebody who wants to grow a business, an income, of following a brand on social media, whether it's a podcast, a business, a following on any social media platform, I have truly done it all over the last 5 years. I have tried everything. And so today I'm going to be breaking it down into 5 things. And I really have tried to pick 5 things I feel like you haven't heard before, because over here at Busy Blooming on the show, across all my social, I share tons of things that I've learned and lessons and mistakes. But these 5 today are things I haven't really said that I hope you haven't heard. I really do feel like being a creator and entrepreneur in this world of social and content is like the best industry. I feel so grateful. I can't even put into words. For everyone who is here every single week or has been a part of my journey over the last 5 years, growing on TikTok, this podcast, YouTube, everything on social media, Busy Blooming, everything that I have launched and tried and pivoted and failed, I have been met with so much positivity and kindness from all the people who follow me over every platform on social and with this business. So thank you so much for being here. And let's just get into it. I'm so excited. So we have a lot of work to do together today at the Busy Blooming office. And if you're new, by the way, welcome to Busy Blooming. This is such a good episode to tune into for the first time. Busy Blooming is your digital office of social media and content creation. So you are actually at work right now with all of your new coworkers. So if you're new, introduce yourself down below. We are all in the world of social media and content, and every single week we clock in of everything that needs to come across your desk for the week in the world of social media. So if you're new, make sure to subscribe. That's kind of like grabbing your desk. Introduce yourself down below, and we have a lot of work to do together today. So let's get into it. The 5 biggest mistakes and lessons I would truly pay $1 million to have learned 5 years ago building a business and a following on social media. So let's get into it. Before we get into the episode, I need to tell you about one of my almost like secret weapons, but one of just my favorite ways to elevate my content and build my brand on social media, which is story blocks. I talk about them all the time. They are truly non-negotiable for me. I use them every single week in my long form content, my short form content, and they have actually changed the content creation process for me and just made it so much easier and made my content look so much better. So Storyblocks is a stock media subscription service offering unlimited downloads of diverse and high quality media for one predictable subscription cost. They have everything you need in one place, from 4K and HD video, templates, music, sound effects, images, and more. And you can use everything they have under one fee. So there's no hidden cost. It's just one fee. You get access to everything you need. As you probably know, I use Storyblocks every week in these YouTube videos that you watch. For the after hour section, the green screen confetti I love a good green screen. I also personally use their sound effects, the typing sound effect, the clicking sound effect in my short form content. It's one of the best ways to build your personal brand and so easy. It's just so streamlined because once you have your rough cut video, short form or long form, you can go to Storyblocks, pick signature sound effects, music, overlays, B-roll that you always use repeatedly. You can even sort their stock footage by color so you can really build a personal brand and then repeatedly use those elements to establish your visual signature brand on social media, which is just so fun. Storyblocks will just change the game for you as a content creator. They have everything you need all in one place at one set fee. You have to go check them out. I personally have used them for years at this point. I love them. So if you want to get started with unlimited stock stock media downloads at one set price, go check out Storyblocks at storyblocks.com/testbarkley or click the link in the description. And thank you so much to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's episode. And let's clock in and go to work together today. Okay, so the first one is stop using social media to be a reflection of who you are and use it to create who you want to be. One of the biggest mistakes I made up until I would say around only 2 years ago is I was playing it too safe and too small on myself and who I was and who I was showing up as on social media. We talk about all the time over here having a big scary vision for your brand on social media, your following, what being on Forbes 30 under 30 or being on a big podcast, like whatever it is, having these big scary goals and dreams I think is so important. But the most important one you need to have is having a big, scary vision for you and who you are. You can truly be anybody on social media. It's kind of like moving to a new city or going to a new college for the first time where nobody knows you, so you can be anybody. And that is what social media is like. Sure, there are some people from your high school and your coworkers and family that follow you, but forget about them, because that's not who you're creating social media for. It is so important to have a specific, big, scary, cringy vision of yourself in a very specific scenario. So let's say you want to picture yourself on the Diary of a CEO podcast or the Mel Robbins podcast. Picture yourself there. Let's say you have millions of followers, you have all the income, all the goals, everything you have, and that everything that you want, you have. You're sitting there on that podcast. You're sitting there talking about the things you want to talk about, the topics you want to be known as either an expert in or having an interesting journey, interesting opinions, hot takes on. You're sitting on that big podcast with everything you want. That person and that version of you is how you need to align everything that you do on social media. That is who you post as on social media, not the person you are now. There is such an important ROI measurement of everything you post on Instagram stories, podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, everything that you do, every way that you show up on social media, it needs to have a high ROI measuring against that dream version of you. Everything needs to be in alignment and be strategic, getting you closer to where you want to go. And you can create being whoever you want to be on social media. I remember thinking, oh, it would be nice to have like really polished vlogs, but that's just like not what I do. Or it must be nice to just be able to sit down and like yap on TikTok about marketing and social media. Like that would be nice, but that's not me. I work a 9 to 5. Like I don't do that. Or it would be nice to start a podcast, but like I don't have a podcast and that's not what I do. Or make my content look a certain way or have really nicely designed carousels, like whatever it is. I was always stuck in this mindset of like, oh, that would be nice, but that's not who I am. And you have to raise the bar for the way you show up, what you talk about, but also raise the bar of who you can be. You can be anybody. Your content can look the way you see on Pinterest or the creators you admire. You just have to, as Joe Dispenza would say, break the habit of being yourself and really use social media to create yourself of who you want to be. Your content can look any way you want it to be. You can do anything you want to on social media. You can rebrand and pivot a million times. The amount of pivots and rebrands I have done over the last 5 years of Busy Blooming, which I won't get into today, and just my personal brand on social, it's an everyday experience over the last 5 years. Stop using social media to be a reflection of who you are and use it to create who you want to be, and you can be anybody. You just need to have a bigger, scarier vision and stop playing yourself too small. Okay, the next one is that the biggest killer of your success as an entrepreneur, as a creator, is falling into a victim mindset. And this is so easy to fall into. This applies in so many areas, whether it's your views, your numbers, the followers. It's this mindset that things are happening to you. And you become a victim in a lot of different ways. So I have seen this in myself so much over the years, and I really had to catch myself. For example, when I was posting 9 to 5 vlogs on YouTube, which some of them are unlisted now, you can go back and watch some of them. I have a playlist, but I used to post my 9 to 5 vlogs 5 years ago in 2020, and they would get around like 700 views per video. And I would think, yeah, well, like the YouTube algorithm just doesn't like me. That's just what happens. Or Instagram just doesn't like me, doesn't like my content, and people don't like vlogs anymore, and they don't like my vlogs. So that's just like the amount I can get. Another way that I would fall into a victim mindset is over the last 5 years, all the time with my schedule and the amount of stress I had, I would fall into being a victim of circumstances that I created. I have worked endlessly over the last 5 years, and I'm not saying that as a flex. I'm saying that as one of the biggest mistakes I made is overworking and thinking that it's a flex. I started Busy Blooming the day after my 24th birthday, and I'm just about to turn 29. And when I was 24, 25, 26, those years, I can't even describe how sick I would be from working 12, 14-hour days for honestly years on end with no time off, which is always a deeper problem of like, what are you trying to prove? What kind of validation are you searching for over here? But I really did miss out on lots of things, social things, weekends, vacations I'd be working, or losing so much sleep. Like I would sleep a few hours a night. Like that is a whole other lesson, which we'll get into. But I kind of became this victim of, oh, I'm just so busy and I'm so stressed all the time, and it must be nice to just go on a weekend out, or it must be nice to be able to take a week off of work. I can't do that. Like I'm this big victim. And the thing was, I became a victim of the circumstance that I created of having a 9-to-5 job and doing a million, way too many things at once. This is also something I have not just seen in myself, but I used to do coaching, and I've coached over 600 creators one-on-one. I see this all the time, and I think this is one of the biggest reasons people will not be successful is because they are falling into a victim mindset. They think the algorithm hates them. And this is something that changed my life when I got out of this mindset and realized what I was doing. The number one indicator of success for myself, and I think for other people, entrepreneurs, creators, is that they really do believe that you can make things happen, and they try to make things happen instead of letting things happen to them. If a YouTube video, the views are really low, they pivot, they adapt, they research, they try, they test. The next week, they're trying something completely different, a new title, a new thumbnail. If that's not working, they rebrand, they pivot. They throw so much at the wall to make it work. They watch hours of YouTube videos, Reddit threads, working to really understand and learn the algorithm. They figure out why this is happening and they make it work. You really do have to have some sort of like ego death in a weird way. If you have to admit to yourself, okay, my content isn't working because maybe it's just not as good as I think, or maybe my business isn't getting sales because it's not as good as I think. I'm not a victim. It's not that everyone in the world and the universe hates me and social media algorithms hate me. It's that maybe it's just like not that good. And let me tell you, my 9-to-5 vlogs were not that good. And I made them better, and I pivoted, and I rebranded a million times, and I tried new styles, new types of content. And you really do have to adapt and pivot and stop falling victim to a victim mindset. And I think it is so important to remember that it is truly a privilege to choose to be in a struggle. So many things that we go through in life outside of all of this stuff, the things we struggle with and the things we are stressed about and we feel these like heavy emotions about are not things that we choose. Entrepreneurship and social media and all of this is a choice. And so that is a privilege. It's a privilege to be stressed and overwhelmed and feeling down on yourself and frustrated and just in a rut with content is truly a privilege. It's a challenge of our choosing. And it is so hard to remember that sometimes, but it's so important to remember how truly lucky we are. I feel like for me, committing the last 5 years of my life, my whole decade in my 20s almost, to working and building my career and building my business and my podcast, all of this is the biggest privilege to have the time and energy to have done that and the health to have done that. And it is so important to be grateful for these negative emotions and not fall victim to it and really get into this mindset of, okay, no, if this isn't working, I'm going to make it work. Okay, the third lesson that I've learned, this is more of a social media and content specific one, but this mindset changed everything for me. This is truly when my business and social and income and everything started to explode, is when I realized social media is about you, but it's not for you. One of my biggest mistakes over and over and over again over these last 5 years has been doing too many things at once in every element of what I was doing with my social media brand on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything. And I just felt really strongly that I wanted to be able to talk about everything I'm passionate about. So that's one element of like, I wanted to just talk about everything. It was all about like me being a reflection of me. and I wanted to talk about all the different things I was passionate about, but also this applied to my business. When I launched Busy Blooming, which I won't get into the details, if you have been here for a while, like I don't even know like how you are still here, but I launched so many different types of businesses. I had a coffee chat marketplace under Busy Blooming. I had a digital store. We did events. I had Facebook group, a membership, a Patreon. I did coaching. I had a course. The Busy Blooming brand, I think, had about 12 income streams, and all at the same time, by the way. And so there were so many ideas and like things I wanted to do with Busy Blooming that I just did it all at once. I always was like, social media is my business and content is my business, but you launch businesses for other people. Any other business besides social media and content, podcasting, all these creative types of businesses you can really have with social, it's so hard to remember that they're not for you, but because they are about you and your life and your opinions. This is the biggest mistake I used to make, is just doing way too much, doing 100 things at 1%. It's a feeling I just talked about the other week. I still struggle with. You have to really, really prioritize the audience and having clarity and doing less well. It is so easy to fall victim to the trap of doing everything so you're not doing anything well because you are too hung up on yourself. You're too obsessed with making sure that your social media includes everything that you're passionate about and everything you want to talk about because you haven't made the mental switch that it's not for you. It's for your audience, and your audience needs clarity. This has applied in every macro and micro way of my business, whether it's only doing thumbnails that I really liked or titles or topics or doing the podcast in the way that I really liked. But no, it's not for me. It's for you. It's shutting down certain parts of the business and rebranding and packaging so it just makes more sense. It is so important to just pick a few topics, a few income streams, a few things and do them well. So remember, social media is about you, but it's not for you. Create for your audience as that dream person of yourself. That is the best way to operate. And yes, it won't be every piece of your personality and your life and your passions, but that's not why you start a business. Okay, the fourth mistakes I have made is that growing your goals and building your dream on social media, your business, all of this is the biggest breakdown and rebuilding of your identity and your mindset. The toll that this has taken on my mental health, not being a victim, not falling into this victim mindset, but it hit me like a truck. The toll that being an entrepreneur and building all of this has taken on my mental health and my mindset, which sounds really weird to say because, again, you're a podcaster and you're building a business on social media, but it will truly, I think, change who you are. Me today, no, of course, I've gone through my 20s, but also just this experience of building something from nothing on your own has been so much harder than I could have ever anticipated. For example, one of the biggest things I've struggled with is the constant guilt of being pulled in two directions. You're in your 20s, you should live your life and live your life to the fullest and be in the moment and like have fun and go crazy on these things. But also you're in your 20s. You should build your business and work really hard and hustle and build your dream because you're in your 20s and this is the time to do it. I have been pulled so much with the dreams and the goals and the drive that I had to build my business with having this guilt that I'm not spending as much time with my family and my friends and putting time into my relationship. It would happen to me, I would say around like the age of like 25, 26, that without even realizing it, my identity and my value and the way I viewed myself became so closely linked with the outcome of my income, my business, my followers, my views, everything, which sounds silly, but if you get it, you get it. And I had no differentiation between if I was doing well and the business was doing well, and how much money I was making and how many followers and views I was getting and how well I was doing. Like, it was the same thing. Probably the most important thing I wish I could go back and tell myself is that the best business strategy you need is to take care of yourself because you are the business. And so because you know that it's going to take such a big mental toll, whether it feels silly or not on your mental health, prioritize self-care and like real self-care. It will make the biggest difference in your business is like prioritizing sleep, prioritizing exercise, eating enough, drinking enough water, journaling, all of these things. Like those are business strategies because you are the integral part of your business. I feel like if I went back 5 years ago and told my 24-year-old hustle culture obsessed self that, I think she would think I'm a big lazy loser. So, okay. And the last thing that has really, really helped me and that I wish I could go back and tell myself is treat everything you do like it's the biggest thing ever, even when it's not. And I mean this in every single way of what you do. For example, when I launched the marketplace, the coffee chat marketplace back like 4 years ago, I had this big Busy Blooming marketplace where there were I think there were like 100 women who sold coffee chats, and a lot of them made like good money from it. When I would tell people about that marketplace before it even existed, and I was on Zoom interviews with women interviewing them, I would talk about it like it was the biggest and going to be the biggest thing ever. When I launched this podcast, I treated it like it was a podcast that 1 million people listened to when no one listened to it. The amount of effort and time I put into every episode, the audio, the cover, the clips, like everything, I treated it as if it was like this big, massive podcast. And this is kind of a hot take that I know people disagree with me on this, but sometimes I feel like this whole treating everything like it's the biggest thing ever also comes into not oversharing the journey and the behind the scenes a little bit. I think, and people will disagree with me, but sometimes I think founders who overshare the behind the scenes and the journey, it's really detrimental to their business. This kind of plays into this other lesson. That's something I've learned, a mistake that I used to make a lot, is that I would tell a lot instead of showing. I would always explain like my rebrands or what I want to do on social media or what I want to do with Busy Blooming or what I want to rebrand the podcast to be, or I would explain, like, for example, even when we kind of rejigged the show here in the summer, I didn't even tell you what it was doing. I just did it. I hard launched, said, here's the new show. Here's the new format. Hard launching your rebrand, your pivot, your businesses, changes, the behind the scenes, instead of telling and sharing the behind the scenes all the time, I think is often a better strategy because you're treating it like it's bigger. Again, going back to our first point of that person who's sitting on the podcast, who owns the big business, who has all the things you want, they don't show all the nitty gritty, the behind the scenes, everything. And I think it's better to share the behind the scenes and the journey and what you're doing in hindsight rather than in the moment necessarily, because then again, you're making it more about the audience and the takeaways and the lessons rather than just about you all the time. And so I have done this with everything that I do, whether it's podcast, businesses I've launched and started. When I started an agency, I used to have an agency at Busy Blooming in 2023 and a little bit of last year. We did editing services, we had editors. Like I talked about and marketed and talked with this agency like it was just the best agency in the world, was going to be the biggest agency, like it was the best thing ever. That's the way I talk about Busy Blooming today. It's just everything you do, treat it like it is the biggest thing ever. And this kind of blends all of our points together, but treat things the way you want it to be. If you want to have a big podcast, treat it like a big podcast. Get the camera, get the microphone, do high quality clips, put a lot of thought and effort into your scripts. Always try to level up and make everything the way that you would do it when you have the following, the listeners, with all the content you post. Talk about this all the time, but create content like someone who has 1 million followers if that's what you want. Like treat things the way you want it to be now, and that's how they will get there. That's how things grow. So treat everything like you do, like it is the biggest thing ever, and you will feel so delusional. And there's so much imposter syndrome with all of this, but it is so important and has just like changed everything for me. Okay, those are the 5 biggest lessons that have come from mistakes that I really, really wish I could go back and tell myself. And I could go on and on and on. There are so many weird things I've done that are more granular in terms of social and business and Busy Blooming and podcast and all these different things, which maybe I'll share more in the vlog. I'm probably going to post a vlog soon. But I think that is it for today's meeting because it's getting long and we still have more work to do today at the office, of course. So let's get into some content ideas, some trends, some social media platform updates for your week coming up in content social. But just before I get into that, I wanted to say, if you have been here at all throughout these last 5 years, whether it was corporate 9 to 5 Facebook group and pink Busy Blooming, that was 5 years ago, or you have been here today in this digital office of social and content, just thank you for everyone who's been here. I truly feel like the last 5 years have been surrounded by positivity, and I'm just so grateful for you. So thank you for everything. And now let's just get into what needs to come across your desk, which is our next segment. So let's get into it. Okay, so if you're new to Busy Blooming, welcome. Every single week I go through some content ideas, some trends, so you don't have to do all the scrolling. You can have some good content ideas for your week. So for today, I'm just going to do 2 because the content ideas and trends report in Busy Blooming HQ was a little bit smaller this week. So we also are doing a YouTube workshop this week in HQ, which I'm so excited about live. So come join, bring your YouTube questions. We're going to talk about all things YouTube. Okay, so the first content idea for the week is a trend that's going around, which is what I'd ask for Christmas if I didn't already own it. This is a talking to camera video. I have seen this format is I would do about 60-second talking to camera video with the hook. Okay, here's what I asked for Christmas if I didn't already own it. But what I would do differently that I haven't seen is I would make it a little bit more about your target audience and you. This is what I would ask for Christmas if I didn't already own it as a full-time content creator. Like something about you, or as somebody on a weight loss journey, as somebody who is obsessed with dressing like my Pinterest board, someone who loves or hates something. Like I would just add a bit of a persona that relates to your target audience. Gift guides are going around everywhere. This is a good week to talk about gift guides. And so I like this one because it's you can package it so it's a little more branded, a little bit more about you. And then you just go through like even 5 things that you use on a daily basis that you love. Bonus points if you link your affiliates in here, add a link in your link tree to each thing that you recommend to get some more affiliate income, which is kind of nice. But I love this idea. It's super easy, super simple. This is a good time to do it, like a little bit early, very savable, and again, brand it so you're converting followers. It's not just to get a bunch of views, it's to get your target audience in there. Okay, so that's the one trend for the week. There are more trends in the HQ report, but I'll give you one evergreen content idea for the week, which this week I would do either a carousel or a talking to camera video about your icks. I've been seeing this go around. So what I would do here is I would probably do this in the carousel, and I would say either my icks about corporate, like my fashion icks, my corporate icks, my content creation icks, whatever that is, or I would do it around advice. So I would say my content creation advice icks, or corporate advice icks, fashion advice icks. So you're basically going through like things that ick you out or annoy you that are about advice that people give that relates to your brand, or things about your brand, like fashion or fashion advice, either way. Something about the word ick in a carousel, I feel like is just so like captivating and kind of bold. So either do this in a carousel, or you could do this in a carousel and a talking to camera video. Easy win for the week. I love it. We have to all do this week. Okay, the only big headline of the week of a social media platform update that I think you need to know is that YouTube now has increased its thumbnail sizes. So before you could only upload a YouTube video thumbnail that was about 2 megabytes. So I personally always had to compress our thumbnails down to be low quality. Now you can upload a thumbnail that's up to 50 megabytes, which is amazing. So especially if you watch YouTube on your TV, you can upload a big, gorgeous, beautiful thumbnail. It doesn't have to be this tiny little compressed file. So I'm going to personally go through and update all of our old thumbnails to be high quality. Other than that, on TikTok and Instagram, I just got access to the bulletin board feature on TikTok this week, which is amazing. Probably not really going to use it. I did one little bulletin board note and that was it. Or Adam Mosseri corner of the week, the CEO of Instagram, he did another amazing, gorgeous Q&A. He reiterated that hashtags don't matter, but then he also said maybe they can be good to categorize your post. So my take on hashtags still is to just throw in like 3, you might as well, that help categorize your post and relate to your brand. But he is very like anti-hashtags. I don't know why. Okay, I think that is it for work today. That was a really long meeting, but it was so fun. I just have the best vibes today. So let's just get in now to after hours, and we're gonna do something fun again for after hours today. So let's get into it. Okay, welcome to After Hours. I loved our segment last week when I took some questions from Busy Blooming HQ. I'm going to do it again, where I asked you for advice on kind of the deeper part of social media, which obviously I love talking about, as you can hear today. So we got a couple questions that I asked for, and let's just jump in. Let's just get into it.
Tess, it took me a while to pull the trigger on HQ, but I have to say, from the moment that I saw your first YouTube video, I literally became a fan. I love your content so incredibly much. I even plan my weekly content like strategy around when you post. So I guess that kind of has to do with my question. On Sundays, I wait for you to drop like the trends of the week so I can kind of put it into my Canva calendar. And then Monday I use for filming, even though sometimes it doesn't wind up happening. Tuesdays I use for editing, and then Wednesdays I'll use for actually scheduling. Now, my thing is that each platform has such a different way of scheduling posts. So, like, I can't preload an audio into TikTok Studio. Instagram, is really hard to actually schedule. I feel like I don't get enough traction when I actually schedule it rather than draft it. And then, I don't know, there's just like little contingencies with every single platform. So, how do you balance and find your way through scheduling and then planning content? That is like my big question. Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, that was so nice and truly the best promotion for HQ. I swear I did not ask her to say any of that. That is so nice. Thank you. Okay, so I so feel you on this, that every single social media platform has different technical things and different contingencies of what works on what. It can be a lot. The first thing I'm going to say is, some of you already know what I'm going to say, which is genuinely just have priorities. You cannot be on everything in 100% capacity unless it is like all you have time to do every single day. What I would do is really think, okay, YouTube's number 1, Instagram's number 2, TikTok's number 3, and really do act in that way. If you have your biggest main platform that you put all your time and energy into, that's one way. Another way that I would do this is I would approach, if she is trying to be on all the platforms, I would really do the weekly theme approach. I feel like it helps so much. It's something I do where you pick a theme for the week, and so you answer a question throughout the entire week that you want to be known for, whether it is like your morning routine, a day in your life, giving a piece of advice about confidence, like whatever your hot take or piece of advice or theme of the week is. I would focus on that because that will help you streamline also your creation process a lot of the way. In terms of like having the content that works individually on each, this takes just a lot of testing and really trying to just nail down 1 or 2 types of content that really works for you on TikTok and on Instagram. For example, for me on TikTok, the carousels that are very photo based work really well for me, which is very minimal text, or text on screen videos work really well for me on TikTok right now, like 7-second text on screen. And then on Instagram, carousels that are notes app based work really well on Instagram for me. And then the more high quality, and then the really high quality 4K talking to camera videos that are about 30 seconds. So it's different content for me that works on both. So with my theme of the week, I would plug in the theme to those types of content, but it just takes so much testing. So what I would do is have a theme for the week, have priorities, theme for the week, and then throughout the week, just pick your one type of content per day that you just know works on each, or just post a little bit less. I always think quality over quantity always. So just figure out like what works for you. I don't know if that answer was helpful, but that's what I would do. Okay, let's do one more question. Okay, this is such a good question. I love it. So she said, I have a decent following on Instagram, almost 30,000 followers. Amazing. I find myself getting annoyed with how much work on the platform takes up space in my brain. I'm constantly in awesome moments thinking I should get B-roll of this, or I'm mentally thinking about a carousel to make a life moment into a takeaway lesson for my audience. This is so real. Even when I moved to YouTube and podcasting, I still feel this in different ways. To be honest, I even stopped scrolling. I use the Busy HQ for my ideas. Okay, amazing. And content 99% of the time. I've read so many books on deep work and personal development. They all say to get off social media, which feels similar to a fad diet telling you to stop eating carbs. Not really possible long term and way oversimplified. This feels very test after hours coded. Okay, I love this question. Okay, so the sentiment of constantly thinking about social media and content in your business is something I relate to so deeply. First thing I will say, this I don't think is really related, but this is more of a side note, is that I can tell my nervous system is dysregulated when I wake up at night and I'm thinking about busy blooming or work. When I wake up in the morning and I kind of get this like urgency adrenaline thing, or when it's just like all I'm thinking about is like work and busy blooming in the podcast and social media, it's like all I'm thinking about, I know my nervous system is dysregulated. I know when I'm taking breaks, I'm bricking my phone, I'm working out, eating healthy, doing all the things, sleeping enough, journaling. When my nervous system is feeling really safe and regulated, I do think about all of this less. So that's kind of a side note. One thing I will say, and I don't know if this is helpful, but when I stopped making content about my life, things started to feel a lot better for me. when I did a lot of vlogging or even like personal Instagram stories, personal content, personal get ready with me, any kind of like I did a lot like Vlogmas, daily vlogging, all of that. My content was very based around my life and me and my personality and what I was doing. I found that was the most unhealthy I've ever felt around social media, because you do really start to feel like your life is an opportunity for business and content. Now that my entire business and content is based around social media and content and not around my life, like I don't have this pressure to really document anything. Like I went on a huge walk this morning. When I go to Pilates, when I'm out with my friend, when I'm out for dinner, when I'm getting dressed, when I'm getting ready, like that is not what my content is about. And so I have a healthy detachment because my content is not about my life. And I love it that way because I feel like it's easier to kind of compartmentalize it as it's work. Our world that we're all in, it's already so much about us and our mind anyways. So what I'd recommend here, and this might be helpful, it might not, kind of depending on what your content's about, but try to have a pillar of your content or even like more of your content based around something else. Either whether it's a series or a pillar of content that is just not about you and your life and something you need B-roll for. Like I never take content of my routines, my life, there's no B-roll of anything. It's just me talking or carousels. And I feel that has really changed my mental health around content. Honestly, it's been one of the best things I've ever done for my mental health with social media, is not making it about my life. For example, I got married. This is kind of a random example, but I got married last year. I posted one Instagram reel that is like 30 seconds about my wedding. I posted nothing. I didn't talk about my wedding. I didn't share about my wedding. I don't share my family. I don't share my husband anymore. I really don't share anything about my life. And I feel like it's in so many ways just such a freeing thing when your business doesn't revolve around the best parts of you in your life, which is those things. So I don't know, that's maybe not the most helpful advice, but I'm just being honest. Like that is what has really helped it take up less space in my mind, if that makes sense. Okay, we'll answer those 2 questions for today. There were so many other good ones that I will bring into next week. So thank you to everybody who clocked into work today. I hope this was a helpful episode, and I hope you do the 2 content I did this week. I'm going to be doing them with you. So I just hope you're having an amazing start to your week. Happy Monday. I'm literally filming this today. It goes live. It's a snowy, blizzardy day in Toronto today. So I hope you're doing well. We will be doing a live meeting tomorrow in Busy Blooming HQ. So if you have any questions you want to ask me live, let's go chat tomorrow in our weekly meeting. We have a YouTube workshop on Wednesday, audit video later in the week, so go check out Busy Blooming HQ. But in the meantime, I will see you next week on Monday. And let's just have an amazing week in the world of content and social. Thank you so much for being here for kind of this like 5-year wrap-up episode, and let's do another amazing 5 years at Busy Blooming. Let's see what happens.